Hi everyone, my name is Owen McGabinowell and welcome to HYVA. What we do here is help entrepreneurs focus on their income producing activities by showing them how to outsource tasks to virtual assistants. But in addition to that, what I do here is also provide you with connections to the right type of entrepreneurs so that you can learn from their journeys, learn from the successes as well as the challenges in their business so that you can take the ideas and implement in your business. And today I'm excited because I have Ted Murphy, a founder and CEO of IZEA Holdings, and which is now actually a publicly traded company. So Ted, congratulations on that. And
Thank you.
what I want to do first of all, Ted, can we give an introduction to the audience so that they have context of what exactly is IZEA?
IZEA is a company that basically helps people who are creating content in the social media space monetize that content that they're creating and connect with advertisers. So you can think of us almost like an eBay, right? Where we build marketplaces that connect advertisers with publishers. And in this case, the advertisers are the buyers and the publishers are the sellers. So let's say that you are, you're Apple and you want people to talk about your iPhone. They don't have a problem with that. But let's say that they had to, right?
Yeah.
Basically, they would create a listing in one of our marketplaces, and they would say, look, we're looking for people who are really into technology and really into mobile devices, and we want you to talk about our new phone. And for that, we're willing to offer you $50. And on the other side, you have people that are creating all this content that like to blog and like to tweet, and they're looking for opportunities to monetize this audience that they built. So at the end of the day, we kind of bring them together, we connect them, and we provide an opportunity for the blogger or the tweeter to make some money from that community that they've built by connecting them with brands that they are excited about or already advocates for.
Definitely. And so you said marketplace. So when you say marketplace, I'm sure that you have three different platforms. Can you give a quick brief explanation of what those platforms are?
Yeah, so our Social Spark platform basically is focused on bloggers, and it allows bloggers to monetize that blog that they've created. So whether it's on WordPress or Blogger, it doesn't really matter. Then we have a second platform called Sponsored Tweets, and it takes that same model and does it in the Twitter world, right? So anybody who has a Twitter account, if you have more than 50 followers, you can sign up and you can monetize your Twitter account. And then the third one is We Reward, and that's our newest platform, and that is a mobile platform that allows people to essentially monetize check-ins. So if you like Foursquare, you like Facebook Places, you can do those same types of activities. We incorporate, we're tied into Twitter and Facebook and Foursquare, but you can get money for doing the check-ins. So you actually get a instant value back.
Definitely. And it's one of the things I run into, a lot of people, especially the social media guru, they'll be like, social media is not about selling. It's not, you're not supposed to sell. It's all about connections, engagement. Forget sometimes that, we're running a business here. I mean, we finding the time to even do this stuff is one thing. At the end of the day, we're trying to make money because we're running a business. So how did solve that issue where people are saying social media is not meant for selling, but yet you're giving them a platform that helps them to sell? Did you run into an issue with that in the beginning when you came out with this
Oh yeah,
idea?
yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, when we first started, it was, blogs. If you asked someone what a blog was, they would be like, "It's my online diary." Obviously, the space has transformed a lot since then. When I first came up with the idea for this company, it was before YouTube, it was before Twitter, it was before Facebook. None of those things even existed. When the first platform that we rolled out was called PaperPost, and we very overtly said that we were going to pay people to write blog posts. And at that time, a lot of the bloggers, probably 99% of the blogs didn't even have display advertising. Like putting Google AdSense or any sort of banner ad on your blog was taboo. So
Wow.
if that was taboo, imagine getting paid for the content. That was like super, that was, people were going crazy. And I remember at the first blog world that I went to, I mean, I walked down the path to the sessions and stuff, and like people would like part ways. Like it was like
Wow.
it was like I was like diseased or something, because
Wow.
I was the guy that was trying to, bring money into social media, and I caught a lot of flack for it. But at the end of the day, I knew what I was doing was right, and I knew that it was the future. And you fast forward, to present day, and it's like I can't walk down one of those hallways at all. It's like everybody is like, how do I make more money? How do I get more opportunities with advertisers? So things have definitely changed, but I think that that's part of the process. Anytime that you're creating something that's brand new, that doesn't exist, that's disruptive, you have to expect to be kicked in the teeth, and that people are it's going to be like kicking and screaming to bring them along. But if you look at the blogs and the bloggers that really attacked us in the early days, every single one of those guys now are doing sponsored posts, and it's the best inventory on their blog, right? It's what they're charging the most for. It's what they get the highest CPMs for. So it's definitely come a long way, and it was. I remember the first night that we launched, it was like, people were writing blog posts that were like, "Die, PaperPost, die!" Like that would be the title of their blog post. And I went home that night and I was like, "What the hell have I done?" Like, it almost brought me to tears because I had never been attacked publicly in that way.
Wow.
But
I guess the good thing too is when you get an attack like that, it means you're doing something totally different. Hence, being disruptive in a sense what you're doing. So that can give you a kind of an encouragement, saying that you just might have something here.
Yeah, it actually goes back to before this. I ran a couple of different advertising companies, and I always said that the worst reaction that we could possibly have from a user was no reaction. If they were just like, right?
Yeah.
We want an idea to be polarizing, because that means that it causes people to have some sort of reaction. So if they just kind of pass it off like, then you probably don't have something big on your hand. If people get like either really pissed off or really excited, chances are you got something on your hands. And then you got to figure out, how to modify things to take advantage of that passion, either one way or the other.
And so let me ask you now, because I think that's a good point. How exactly did you take advantage of the fact that what you were coming out with was a little bit polarizing, and how did you turn it to what it is today?
It really started right from the beginning. So I knew that what we were getting ready to launch was going to be polarized. I didn't realize how polarizing it was going to be, but I knew that it was going to definitely tweak some people. And the first thing I did was I approached a writer for Business Week by the name of John Fine, and I had been reading a bunch of his articles in Business Week, so I kind of knew the angle that he took when it came to media and just how things were being done on the internet and everything else. So I knew that he would probably, I didn't know what type of reaction he would have, but I knew it would be a strong reaction one way or the other. And he wrote this article it was called "Polluting the Blogosphere."
Wow.
And that's really where everything took off from. He broke the original story. From there, it got picked up on TechCrunch and Scopalizer and just kind of blew up. But when you have a big idea and you think that there's some potential for disruption, you want to go directly after people that are going to help you spread that word. Either positively, like some of the people you just don't know which way they're going to go, but you got to swing for the fences right out of the gate.
So I guess what happened was that you when you came out with the idea that you wanted to do this, you went out there to pitch the news media and people that you felt would have the most impact, but not necessarily knowing what direction they were going to take.
Right. Well, you just have to know. You have to recognize that. The people that you want to go after are going to be passionate. They're not just going to basically take the information and regurgitate it, because you don't want it. You don't want that. You want somebody who's going to kind of get behind it and kind of make it a mission one way or the other, and take their own stance. And that's what happened in that case. At the end of the day, it's so funny because probably 2 years after we launched the company, I went back and I looked at that point, I think there were like 7 or 8 articles on TechCrunch, and like every single one of them except one attacked us. And I went back and I looked at all the traffic from each of those posts, and all the ones that attacked us were like 3 to 4 times more traffic than the one that was like semi-nice.
Oh, so you were actually tracking the traffic you were getting from those specific posts that actually were negative towards you guys, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah.
And go ahead.
And they
go ahead.
converted, not only did they drive more traffic, but they converted at a much higher rate as well. So, there is that old saying that, all press is good press. And in some cases that's not true, but in this case it was very true for us. And the people that read those articles went on to join, and a lot of them went on to, become very active members of our community.
But I mean, being an entrepreneur, we're all humans. When you get that experience where it's all negative, I mean, I will be a little bit worried. Like, man, I'm trying to build something great here, and everybody here is, especially maybe even people that you respect and have all this, blogging power, because they have a lot of people that, listen to their blog, thousands of people, and now that person is blogging something negative. But how did you react? Because I want to see how we can learn from that, and if it happens, because eventually, if you're building a big business or whatever, it's going to get to a point where somebody is going to say something negative about it. It might be someone you respect. How do we react to that?
So, I think the first thing is you have to believe in what you're doing, right? So, like, if I look at the guys now that are like trying to do things with alternative energy, I mean, those guys are attacked constantly too, because there's big dollars that want them to fail, right? And there's people that are they've got a financial interest in things staying the way that they are, right? And so no matter what you're doing, that if it's something that's disruptive, it's something that's new, somebody already has a stake and has a vested interest in you not succeeding. So you have to kind of go into it expecting that. For me, I think that all the negative that came out of that and all the criticism, some of it was valid, right? Some of it around disclosure and transparency. I mean, when we first launched, we kind of took this stance of, look, we're not going to tell people how to disclose. We're not going to tell people, how they should deal with their relationship with advertisers, because we're going to open it up and market forces and whatever, and we'll just kind of let it happen. And what I came to realize pretty quickly was, like, that's a great idea, but in reality, that doesn't really protect the consumer. It doesn't protect the advertiser. It doesn't protect the blogger in the way that it should. And so pretty quickly we came up with a site called Disclosurepolicy.org, and we started doing things where it was automatically included and it wasn't optional. And so I think that there was some validity in those criticisms, but overall, it still took a long time, despite the changes that we made. It took a long time for people to get comfortable with what we were doing. I would say that the fact that somebody takes that negative stance, it can be the best thing that ever happened to you.
And you said something too that I liked, was that you said they gave negative feedback. Some of them were very passionate about the negative feedback, but you still were able to get past the feeling of man, my feelings are hurt, but take that time to listen to the negative feedback and take pieces of it and use it to even upgrade your product, right? And
right.
So what mechanisms did you set in place, or what process? Like, one of the things you said was that you were able to, the issue they had initially was with the disclosure, because you came out with the product not really leaving the disclosure part of it on the person who creates the blog post.
Right.
And a lot of people would say maybe that's not right because the consumer doesn't know.
Right.
And it has to be disclosed. So you were able to decipher that from the negative criticism. But I'm curious, so that anybody who's listening to this, what system or mechanism in place do they have to set in place when they get this negative feedback, especially when they're building something disruptive, that they can use to take out bits of it, of the criticism that they can use to, in essence, construct a better product, I guess?
Yep. I mean, I think that that's the beauty of social media, right? Is that people are going to tell you whether they like it or don't like it. So it's like it's free market research. People are gonna either say we love this or we hate this, and then it's up to you as the person who's providing the service or creating the product to take that feedback, internalize it, and then figure out how to make things better. Um, my biggest advice is just you've got to pay attention to those things, and you've got to be part of the conversation. So, when somebody would say we've got an issue with disclosure, I'd be on their blog and I'd say, you know what,
You were
that's
on
a
their
good.
blog.
Oh
Wow.
yeah. You've got to come back and comment and be part of it and let them know that you hear them, right? Because that's the other big part of it. So when I am then on their blog and say, you know what, I acknowledge that there's some issues here. We're working on a solution. All of a sudden, that kind of starts to diffuse the situation, and it humanizes the company. It makes them feel like they've got a relationship and a line with me, so that there's an opportunity to move forward. And I could have just kind of taken the stance of, you know what, you guys are all crazy, and I'm just going to let market forces take over, and it is what it is, and I'm right and you're wrong. And at the end of the day, there's got to be some common middle ground. Now, I still, even with all that stuff that I did in the early days, it still took years and years to get to a level of acceptance. And I had to on the disclosure topic. I worked directly with the FTC. Went into Washington and created guidelines, not just for us, but for this entire industry. And so it's, you've got to have the perseverance to get through all that stuff to get to a point where, things are accepted. I mean, if you look back, like even with the invention of the car, right? Like there were people that made horse-drawn buggies that were like, the car? That's crazy. You don't want a car. That thing's going to kill you. And so there's always going to be somebody that is stacked against you when you look at creating something disruptive.
And when you said in regards to creating kind of like a how to say it, you said disclosure.org, right? I mean, what exactly is that? Because you say you created a system that shows people automatically that this is an ad. Explain that, please.
Yeah, so we in our platforms, we basically automate this process where if you're writing a sponsored blog post, it'll say this post is sponsored by Acme Corp, and these opinions are 100% mine. So that when they post that on their blog, they don't get compensated unless that disclosure is there. If you're doing it through Twitter, there's a little hashtag ad, or it'll say sponsored by or brought to you by, and that's all automated through our system. So basically, if you don't disclose, you don't get paid. And
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed that too, because I've seen my wife pays attention to some of the celebrities, their tweets, and I see that. I noticed that in some of them. I'm like, well, okay, I guess that's great, because I'm now knowing fully well that this is an ad, as opposed to me feeling this is just an opinion that is, without it being an ad backed by it. So that's great. That's great.
Right. Yeah, you've got to have that, and I think that there's an advantage there, both for the consumer, when you're reading those tweets, but also for the tweeter themselves, because it helps them remain authentic and be open and honest with their audience, so that they're not trying to hide the fact that there's some sort of commercial relationship with this advertiser, with this product.
Definitely. And I'm sure, most of the things you learned in regards to taking IZEA to where it is right now came from your experiences, as your entrepreneurship journey. So give us, take us back, way back when. Where did this all entrepreneurship thing start from for you, I guess?
Well, I think it actually all started. My dad gave me the bug. My dad's now in his 70s, and he's got 3 companies now that he started within the past 3 years.
Within the past 3 years, wow.
Yeah, he is a hardcore entrepreneur, has always been, and from a very young age, I remember my dad with his different companies and tinkering with different things, and when I was about 11 years old, he took his first company public, and I remember all the excitement around that, and so I think I've always, it's just part of who I am. It's part of my family. My brothers are entrepreneurs. My sister's an entrepreneur. And so I started my first company when I was in high school. And basically what I did was I'd print T-shirts for the local high schools. So when there was a graduating class or the football team, they always wanted like shirts that were like rival against the other football team. But I didn't have enough money to actually print the shirts. So I would create the design, and I would go around and be like, guys, I'm making these shirts. I don't have them yet, but if you give me the money now, you can pre-order them. And so I basically took all the money before I had even printed my first shirt, and I even knew how it was going to work. Collected all the money, and then made enough money to buy my first round of shirts, and then just kept on doing that through high school. Actually, I almost got expelled from high school for doing that.
It's so funny because I keep hearing entrepreneurs saying that when they start something in high school, somehow somebody in high school, the teacher, the principal, or somebody is always trying to stop that whole process. I'm curious, why does that happen though? I mean,
it's the rules that they have in place. You're not supposed to be hawking stuff in gym class, I guess. But luckily, I was able to graduate and didn't get in too much trouble for that. But it's definitely against the rules.
But go ahead. So we understand how it started, but I'm sure there's more to the story. So go ahead.
So that led to, and I went to college. I went to Florida State. I started working at a newspaper there my freshman year, and met my first business partner. And I just turned 18, and he was 21 years old. We met. We like totally clicked, and we decided that we were going to create a design company together. So both of us maxed out our credit cards, and we bought one computer, one printer, like one copy of Photoshop, and all the stuff that we needed. And we were in a fraternity house, and he would work during the day, and he had this bed that kind of like rolled out on top of this desk area. And he would sleep there at night, and I would work all night because we only had enough money for one computer.
Yeah.
And we built that company. Started that in '95, and then in '99 we built up a pretty nice company. We were doing television, we were doing radio at that point, and then I sold it out to him to start an interactive agency. So I grabbed all my stuff, moved to Orlando. Never graduated college, by the way.
No problem with that, Bill Gates. They did not. I mean, college to me is just it's just part of it. But that's not, go ahead. That doesn't matter.
And moved to Orlando, started an interactive agency where we were doing basically high-end website development. So that was like, Flash had just started coming out. People were just starting to realize that a good-looking website was actually important, and that you shouldn't just be having a bunch of engineers design it. So we started building like real high-end websites. One Macromedia site of the day. I don't know how many times, over and over and over again. And then here they actually created a new interactive award that didn't exist before us, because like we were the first guys doing this stuff. Created a bunch of different products, and I started some other like spin-off companies, and then eventually in 2005 I started PaperPost, and so I was running this other company. It's called Mind Comet. It's still around, and started this with this idea, PaperPost, and it was just going to kind of be a service that we provided as part of Mind Comet. And then,
but I'm curious though, because there's always a correlation between how something starts. What in the other business made you feel there was a need for PaperPost? That's what I'm trying to get at.
So the idea behind PaperPost really came from, well, first I saw that people were starting to blog, and I saw what was happening with high-speed connectivity. people were starting to get DSL lines and things were starting to get faster and faster where people could start actually publishing this content. And I really just saw this vision of the future where everybody was going to be a publisher. And that still is my vision, is that in the future, everybody will be a publisher. Actually, my vision's changed a little bit from everyone to everything.
Everything how?
I believe that your car will become a publisher. I believe that, amusement park rides will become publishers. And all of those are opportunities for monetization. So, if you're like subscribed to the Ball of Fire amusement park ride, when you get there, that's an opportunity to put ads in there, right? Ads in that stream. So it's not just everyone, it's everything. Every device, your refrigerator is going to talk. Everything's going to talk. Everything's going to be broadcasting. It's going to be information overload for people.
That's the question I was about to ask. I mean, if everybody's publishing and even everything at a certain point is publishing, wouldn't that be information overload?
I think that the next real big innovation is going to come with automatic subscribing and unsubscribing of these feeds. So as I walk into the amusement park, it basically knows that, oh, you know what? These feeds around me are publishing content. Do I want to subscribe to them? Or not. And then, so things, you have your Twitter stream or your whatever stream, whatever the next thing is, that you're subscribing to things on a constant basis, and then you have things that come in and go out based on where you are or what activity you're doing. So things become, actually I think things can become a lot more relevant. So as you're going throughout the day, you're getting the information that you need depending on where you are and what you're doing.
And in regards to being create the next disruptive technology, because the more kind of things you subscribe to, it kind of tells people or whatever is listening to just the kind of person you are. Because I think the more it kind of frames if he's paying attention to this kind of feed, then this is what I'm supposed to be showing to him, and then creating kind of a framework or profile of who that person is, I guess.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that as we go forward in time, there's just going to be just so much information that we're going to need some really cool systems to help us determine what we actually want to listen to.
But sorry to take you off in a tangent. So back to the point where you explained that you had you saw the need for PaperPost and take from the story.
So I when everybody becomes a publisher, I think that causes an issue, right? In that if you look at the way that people consume media 10 years ago, it was basically television, newspaper, radio, and now what you've had happening is people are watching us right now, right? And there's this hyper fragmentation of media where instead of spending time watching television, you're now listening to Pandora, or you're watching this interview, or you're watching, you're reading someone's Twitter stream on your mobile device. And so the question becomes, if you're an advertiser, how do you get in front of people if they're not going to the places where you used to buy your advertising? And the answer is you've got to become part of that stream. You've got to become part of that content, and you've got to have a platform that allows you to do massive media buying from all these, very micro niches to, anybody from 50 followers to, millions of followers, but these are all new media channels. Everything that comes online, in my mind, it becomes a new media channel. And so then it becomes a question of, well, how do you do that at scale?
Yeah.
And that's what we've been working on here, is solving that problem.
Great. And one thing I like too is that you made a very good point, because the entrepreneur starts saying, okay, the old way of media is changing. Everybody's now becoming publishers, and eventually everything might be publishing something. Where do you find the channel to go on to display your message? Yes, it's going to be disclosed as an ad. The thing now becomes, how does one keep track of all this stuff? There's Twitter, there's this today, there's that. It becomes overwhelming. We still have our business to run. So how does, anything come to mind on how to decide what makes the most sense in terms of what feed you need to get in front of?
I think it's different for every business, and depending on what you're doing and what type of business you have to choose the appropriate channel to communicate with your potential audience. So that could be LinkedIn, that could be Facebook, that could be Twitter, that could be Foursquare, that could be something else completely different that has absolutely no relevance to me or you, but is really big in some other obscure industry. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think that you should be measuring the amount of time that you're spending and really trying to figure out, is it worth the amount of time invested? And some of those things are very easy to measure, and some of those things are more difficult to measure. But at the end of the day, I think that you have two parts of your social media life. Like for me, I have my personal social media life, where it's like my very close friends and my family and what we're doing to communicate with each other. And then I have the kind of the broader group, which is, colleagues and potential business partners and what I'm trying to do to forward my own professional career. And I make different, I actually use different tools for each of those activities. Like I would say my Twitter stream is much more professional and corporate than my Facebook stream.
Yeah.
So.
And one of the things too now is, closing out the interview, I want to round up the point on coming up with something disruptive, because so far anybody who's been listening to this, that was what we started out with initially. I'm trying to figure out, what was that one thing that you feel that you want to live with? Any entrepreneur who's listening to this up to this point that has that idea that he thinks is going to be disruptive, what is that one thing that you want to live with them in regards to being able to get that idea out and get started, even though it might meet a lot of friction, I guess?
The number one thing is perseverance. This company has had some tremendous ups, some tremendous downs, and whether it's been through the media or when things got a little crazy with the economy, I had to cut this company in half. I had to lay off like 20 people, and that was really tough, and I had to build it back up from that. And I remember, those were really painful nights and painful times for me, but I knew that at the end of the day, if I stuck with it, that we would have success. And so, I would say that if you have something disruptive, A, you got to plan on it being a long road, and B, you can't ever give up. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you're wrong. You're going to probably have to make course corrections along the way. But if you believe in it, you gotta stick with it, and you'll ultimately find success. And you gotta keep a positive attitude, and don't let those haters keep you down.
Or just look at the haters as a means to get new feedback that you can improve upon your product. Hey.
Yeah, I look at all that stuff as like people invest a lot of energy in hate. And I'm soaking up that energy. And then I turn it right back around and use it for my own gain.
Wow, man, I like that, man. Ted, I really appreciate you doing this interview. I know you have to go. And how best can anyone who's been listening so far get a hold of you? Where do you send them?
The best way is follow me on Twitter. I'm at Ted Murphy. You can always also send me an email. I'm ted@IZEA.com.
Thank you very much, Ted. I really appreciate it. We're done.
All right. Have a great
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed today's interview. And before you go, I want you to do me a favor. I'm trying to build my community of entrepreneurs who find my content useful on Facebook, so we can engage, have discussions live right there on Facebook. And to get to my page on Facebook, you go to www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And again, it's www.com. What am I saying? No, it's www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And when you get there, what you're going to do is look for the a button that says like, and you click on that button, and then basically you become a fan of the page. It's that simple. You don't even have to leave me your email. Just click on the button that says like. And again, the page to go to is www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And that stands for HYVAssistant. Real easy. I look forward to seeing you on Facebook. Have a great day.